Hi, if you'd like to come on in, have a seat to scry your solar plexus. Here's the Inkblot made in the spirit of, and we will scry for shapes or symbols and spirits that speak. I don't have the spirit box today, so we're just going to glide through with insights and tarot and oracle. I have tried to do this ASMR meditation style a few times. Total transparency, it just wasn't landing. So I'm going to dig in like a regular reading. So if you'd like to join me, closing the eyes, taking a deep breath, activating the abstract mind and ancient awareness to perceive and receive symbolic support. Thank you for holding space for me to share my insights, and of course, remain in the creator space that you're the one that connects the dots. All right. So I'll share kind of what I saw from a past perspective, and we'll add on tarot and oracle to bring us into the present moment as well. If you want to draw your own personal attention to your solar plexus space, feel free to do that. Otherwise, I'm going to dig in here. There was a mill like cleaning of a golden essence that was, I saw like Willy Wonka's Charlie in the Chocolate Factory, and I could see the chocolate river. But this chocolate river was and is of the golden glow, the golden essence of the sun of self, the spirit of sharing, healing, vitality, and something's being cleansed. There's a lot of branches here. I feel like some cycles are being closed out. Some are slowly detaching, and the message was like taking time to have them slowly dissipate. So if you're working on cord cutting or even soul contracts, this, that, or the other, there is not just karma, but universal justice at play. And this takes time to not only unravel, but then refilter through that river. So the solar plexus energy is being cleansed and filtered to a higher degree of integrity and shine and sheen. There's something about solar storms around the essence of the sun. Like if you can imagine, I'm zooming out and I see the sun from this earthly perspective, and it has this radiance, right? It seems subtle. The center might be bright, but the subtleties of the rays are hazy and fuzzy and beautiful. And then I'm zooming in really, really close towards the sun element representing the solar plexus in the space. And that's where I can see like the more details of solar storms, the volatile activity to create heat and life force and healing, all that kind of good stuff. But when you're up close, it feels volatile. When I zoom out, it feels vibrant. And perhaps anyone else in this solar plexus area can resonate with that when you're digging into your solar plexus space. If there's any sort of resentments and we'll call it recalibration in whatever means it in context it might be in, it can feel a little volatile because you're really, really close to the sun. And that's okay. Maybe take a few steps back. Zoom out. So the solar storm is aware, resentments, regrets, wherever they may reside, because they're working themselves out. And then I come back to this river. It feels very, very golden. There is a light language, like a solar tongue I keep hearing, but I don't actually understand it. I don't think I personally earthly speak it, but it sounds the best I can resonate with or do it any sort of justice. Imagine if I was really, really close to those solar storms again, and there are sounds, and these sounds put together make a language, like it is a communication. There's an older woman in spirit stepping forward, and perhaps you've lost an elder, an ancestor, but I keep hearing like a grandmother figure, and she's stepping forward and she's on these branches because they're like birds, in these messages. It's something to do with family, as there are ties that bind. And I keep hearing as a positive, you can also utilize these ties, these branches, if I may, in this bird sensation as boundaries, like to protect something. Like I'm seeing like a bunch of, I don't know if it's rose vines or rose branches, but with the thorns on them, and they can serve to be protective over something. And then another rabbit hole says, have you been protecting something for a long time? And is it draining? I don't know if draining is the right word, but perhaps you can come to that sensation on your own. Is it drawing from the integrity of your solar plexus river? Because when I envision the solar plexus and this radiance, right, no matter zooming in or zooming out, for me, it's the center space that the other chakras or energy centers not revolve around, but they can draw from. Like it spreads out to the more earthly chakras, to the higher chakras, and then beyond through the auric field to draw a golden glow around you. And if you want to take a moment to feel that, to envision that, shining within your own self, soul, and spirit, add any word you like for whatever channel you're working through, professional, personal, relationships, this, that, or the other. And being willing to get in close to these solar storms, because there is a being in there that could be drawing upon that from soul contracts, regrets, resentments, this, that, or the other. And in this moment is where I would like take time to meet it and slowly detach and pull away the cord so it's filtered. A very mill style. And coming back into that, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, it feels like I'm being molded. So the way I see it, if you want to imagine with me, is, for simplicity's sake, we'll say spirit space. And this golden thread or elixir, I do see it as a fluid because it's movable and like gold. And it can be hardened and it can be melted down again and other things added to it, which makes it less gold or whatever the carats may be. White gold, this, that, or the other. And as it draws down towards the soul residing in the self, or add any wordage that feels good, different molds are made with different carats of this purity, of the purity. And perhaps if you're with me, you're working through that shine to bring that carat up. I don't know if I said that well, but hopefully you understand what I'm saying. It is a slow going process, and I don't know if anyone feels like there's a rush. I keep hearing, like when I tune into the earthly sun's expression, like millennia. And though that doesn't necessarily translate, but it to like the here and now, that is almost defeating. But it's like seeing the scope of a lifeline from all lives, all past lives, many sons of self. So a millennia could already be in place and very close. So to keep it, it's worth it. To focus here every so often. There's also a father, son, or brother, male energy and spirit that steps forward. This is very grounding when it comes into the mold of the human. But there's a spirit stepping forward as if there's somebody, maybe this is for a few of you that are going through grief, and this could be a lot of this filtering of wandering through, because I'm seeing it right in here. And this male figure steps forward almost to say, like, you can detach or slowly, like a slow drip, detach from the dramas of perhaps grief, hurt, and pain. Maybe you're moving through that and beginning to look around for what's that word? Permission. I just heard a pure permission to not move on, but just move forward in building new connections. And that is being celebrated by this male in spirit. We will meet again. We will be together again. Different landscape, perhaps even in another lifetime. The infinity symbols come through a lot in this Inkblot, in the solar plexus space. And it's always like remembering you're painting the present moment. That adds to the overall golden aura of all that is. So make connections, feel things. The solar storms to the beautiful sun tanning rays. And maybe even get some sun, you know. Thank you. You're writing your own story that adds to the novel, you know. Maybe somebody feels like they've been rereading a chapter or reflecting upon a journal or reflections, and it's not changing. It's like we'll start writing the change, maybe, right? If that makes sense. There's also that so we talked about the grandmother spirit coming through, the father, son, the male. There's a spirit, a child spirit that sees you. They see you in this space of this glow, almost like anywhere you are. This could also be the father, son, but it is somebody in spirit, and they see you. And like when you're moving around, because they're seeing from a very much higher perspective, they see you like a golden glow, almost like a golden globe type thing, and they're handing you like this award for what you're going through. The City of Angels movie also came through in regards to getting some sun, and maybe even it's at the peak bookends of sunrise and sunset, and just taking a few moments to stand there and choose peace, if only for that very present moment that it's possible to reaffirm what it is that you're molding. We had here spiritual law of attraction as well. And for me, that's that male in spirit, father, son, brother, that can see you amongst the grid of all that is. And feel free to take a deep breath with me. There's no race, there's no rush. Wherever you are, we are painting the present moment together as we're amidst the solar plexus space. And I want to note that where it feels shady, and I mean like shade by the sun, and looking at the earthly expression of it all, and that shade, the shadow, if I may, does serve purpose sometimes. Now that shade for some could be grief, that shade for some could be sorrow, regrets, reflections, this, that, or the other. But the shade serves a purpose when it's a little too warm, when it's a little too bright, and that's okay to find your shade and be within that shade, which is how I'm seeing its relationship in a polarity as the solar storm being so close it's going to be burn and volatile, to being in the shade that could feel more sorrowful, but it's cool and it's a little bit calmer. And maybe just playing with those. Again, it comes in sunrise, sunset. The coolness is coming, and the rise, the heat is coming. And there's this balancing, and something about 12 and 12. That feels lovely. We had here paradisical, you belong to paradise, is coming through to support Ubuntu, compassion for others, and which the magic you seek is inside of you. Let it flow. This is that feeling for me that's coming through of the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, of the Golden River. And even when it feels chocolatey, a little muddy, if I may, it's okay. Move through it. Be in the shade a little bit. See the things, like, when they go through the tunnel and it's all like, oh, scary. It's like, but it's your story. You know it. You know it. And revisiting it from a different perspective, there's that tunnel, the way her arms are, the tunnel, and you go through the tunnel. And the compassion you can hold while reviewing these things, and for some reason it does feel much like resentment or regrets, and a particular kind of grief. And because there's other spirits stepping forward, father, son, brother, a male, and this ancestral grandmother coming through, they're there, and they see you shining, but they understand it feels slow and steady. Remember, you belong to paradise, and I am part of your paradise. Thank you. I'm going to put these back in. There is a key. There's a key somewhere in your solar plexus space, and this key is actually a sword. I don't know if at some point in time, and that's in relation to this grief or something that got in your guts about it. Change and development came through. So, and there's like that key feeling, a big sword, cross. There is a key, another change is coming in, and it's created conflict. Okay, so thank you. I'm going to take a moment here. Wisdom is on the bottom to support. This key in the sword is protected quite fiercely, if I may, because there's an understanding getting too close. It can look volatile, but the essence of your solar plexus space is rejuvenating, and it holds vitality not only to the rest of your energy centers, but into your expression and interconnected nature with others, people, places, or things. I'm seeing somebody maybe not necessarily ready for companionship or connection with perhaps other people, and moving to different realms, working with animals or plants quite specifically. And it could be healing steps for one's own self in those spaces to be like, I'm going to rebuild my connection with the plant realm and with the animal and or the animal realm, and begin there. And that is also really, really celebrated, or maybe even just something to add in if at times connection with people can be overwhelming, especially if you're very sensitive at this time or sensitive in general, spiritually. Knowing those boundaries to step into the other realms for rejuvenation, as they do as well, like photosynthesis, work with sunlight, and they can like remind you to filter, and just interacting with them can help filter. I hope this is making sense. So when I come into that key and that sword, though, because it kind of felt like a little bit of a gut punch, and you'll know what that feeling is if you're following this solar plexus story. And that change and development was backed up by change and travel with the seer, but it did create like fire and ice conflict. It does bring me into a grief feeling, whether that's grief, loss of a job, person, place, or thing, this, that, or the other. We will not hold grief to simply of the human connection. Many types of connections or disappointments. But that's why we're here, because we're working through it together. We're adding to our sun of self, right? That sun, and it's quite lovely. Even if it's like drawing, when you're a kid and you draw a sun with a circle and then sticks out for the shine, one stick at a time, one ray at a time. And that, if you can imagine that symbol in your solar plexus space, becomes the mill, and it's filtering. It's worth it. It's worth it. The change that may have happened, the disappointment, the grief, the loss. Can we, for a moment, consider it may feel like anxiety, depression, this, that, or the other. But the change reminds us that these things aren't lost to us. It feels like loss. I'm not diminishing that, but I want to add a perspective that they're going somewhere, right? They're going to the next stage, to their next adventure too, and there's change on that side as well. There's unknowingness. There's different pieces of peace. The probability of perspective is larger, and that is to be celebrated. Can we shift our perspective when reflecting upon our loss, that this person, place, or thing is going somewhere? It's going somewhere. Even if we lost a job or an opportunity, they will fulfill that somewhere else, and we can celebrate. They will find that fit, and we didn't have to contort our shine to fit like a puzzle piece, even though we saw potential. Again, I hope that makes sense. Okay, I'm going to add on a few more cards here. Filtering. The conflict between fire and ice, that sunrise, sunset, the cooling, the shade. There's solar storms in the background of this card as well. Sorry, I'm not trying to give you the middle finger. But they're behind you. If you want to take a breath with me in that moment, because even I want to relish in that reflection, because I'm absolutely here with you, taking this in, how beautiful it is to consider whatever ray, stick this is, it is behind. We will melt the cold and cool the fire. Flying, another horse coming in to support that fire and ice. And it's almost like, as I see the fire cooling the water, and it evaporates and it becomes thoughts in the air and it becomes light. It's really quite lovely, multi-dimensional in nature. The spirit stepping forward, and this comes from what potentially has felt like, I'm not going to try and find it, rock bottom. So if you want to take a moment to consider in this space and time, if you have found this story here, you're going from rock bottom to flying high. This is also, thank you, listening. Somebody has passed. They are in the earth, and they are now high in the heavens, if I may, high in the heavens, seeing this grid around you. And they see you. Thank you. There's the grid, the labyrinth, as we continue to go through life in this labyrinth, possibly confused, contorted. We've contorted. Their love still emanates from their, it's almost like I see spirit in their solar plexus space, like white gold, as we're emanating gold, yellow gold. That grandmother stepping forward again. I almost hear like the name Barbara or something like that. Okay, I'm going to flip it here, and I'm going to get ready to close out. If you've been joining me, I am so grateful, and it didn't work out the way I wanted it to in trying to, work through the meditative state, but perhaps the meditative message remains intact, and you can sit back and just listen and come to your own conclusions. Always remain, in that state of open to receive individual inspirations as well. All right. Thank you. All right. So we're closing out here for the solar plexus. We're milling, we're filtering. It's like like golden molten lava. And from this elixir of our life, we create rings of commitment. We create charms, almost like jewelry. And then we can call it back in. It's like one of those people that buy gold and metals, and they'll purify it. But you're the purifier. You're the purifier. A tidy house, clarity and organization. You are the clarifier. You are the clarifier. And look at all, there's all those roots and those branches right in there. One. You are the one son of self that emanates to all the other bodies of your being, to the other energy centers. Though, yes, they communicate and they listen to each other. But it's one chapter in one book of many. Does that make sense? Like the Akashic Records almost. And I want to say, if you're here with me, you're no longer at rock bottom. We're moving on up. All right. So we have here New Hope coming through. I don't know if it'll Animal Rune. New Hope, Dolphin. High frequencies from Spirit. Yellow gold, white gold. Fate of the Spider is coming through. Just like all those roots, things are happening, likable or not, divine to depressive, and all the different degrees of density. It is working out. Everyone's stories are so intermingled that we can't remember all the past lives, the potential future lives, the parallels. Everyone's choices come together and then sometimes take side stories, but they're still able to contribute. If you're working on refilling your cup, your vitality, know that the spirits around you, they speak in that solar tongue. I don't necessarily understand it. I think I can't speak it, but you can feel it. You can feel it in the birds, the plants, the animals. You can feel it in the light from the sun at any point in time in the day. And have boundaries. It's okay to have boundaries, to keep building. I'm seeing, I can't remember her name. I think her name was Sarah, maybe Manchester, but I don't know. And she kept building this castle. Now, I know she was doing it out of fear, but it's not the point that I'm trying to make here. But keep building. So until you can feel the sun, as you're milling and working through your resentments and regrets, and you're replenishing, you're releasing them. You're like, no, you know what? I build from here in this one moment, this present moment. And it becomes a gift where the whole, if you're here, you can envision like your whole aura glowing gold. And then as you're glowing gold, and you want to go like 6 feet even, maybe it'll take time. And then you bump into spirit, whoever these loved ones are working with you in the white gold, and their white gold comes into your yellow gold. Flying high. Earth to spirit. Different paths, but we all have the same landscapes to work with. It's just different labyrinths, like that spirit, the fate, the choices. But there's always the new hope to raise the higher frequency, the vibration, the spectrum of sight. All right, thank you so much for joining me. I am completely honored. If I didn't say somewhere along the lines, please like, share, and subscribe. It definitely helps. You can donate with the links below and buy me a coffee or the Spirits of Ghost Juice. And until next time, thank you.